Okay, so here we are in the Eldorado. Got the AC on. First impression is this car rides okay. This isn't a great road surface here, but you certainly hear the impacts and the expansion joints as you go over them. And I think that's a function of the 3/4 length frame in the back. As I was mentioning, this single leaf rear spring on either side. Definitely not a luxury ride. My 69 rides the same way, by the way. But it really doesn't matter because you look good. You feel like you look good in this car. Feels like when you're going somewhere and you pull up, you've arrived. Has a great horn. I don't know if you could hear that. It's pretty quiet in here with the windows up and the AC on. Wheel tracks nice and straight. But again, a very stiff ride. The steering is nice. It's pretty numb, as is the typical case of most vehicles during the time period, but seems to have a good ratio, not sloppy or slow. And the car does, I'll give it this, it does corner relatively well. It doesn't lean a heck of a lot. The limiting factor isn't so much the suspension as it is your ability to stay put in this very slippery leather bench seat. You gotta find something to grab onto. With the windows down, even with the rear vent windows retracted into the C-pillar, quite a bit of wind buffeting in this car, unlike some of the four-door hardtops of the era. And I would say the brakes, this car does have the optional disc brakes. The brakes are good, not much pedal feel, but they do have a good bite. Very pleasant. Feels like it would stop quite well. Turn around here. All right, so turn around back on the road again. I think, one of the faults with this interior would be I love air conditioning blowing in my face, and you can't quite get this one. It gives a little bit of a breeze, but most of the air outlet is from this center vent, which you can't tilt toward anybody. It's just kind of aimed at the middle of the cabin. So that's one thing that I don't particularly care for. Maybe I'm weird that I like AC in my face. Other than that, the seat comfort is pretty good. I have to imagine if somebody went down to the Lincoln dealer or the Imperial dealer and drove one of those vehicles and then drove this, they would think the other ones drove better, to be honest. But certainly the looks of this one are great. And if you turn the turn signal on, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little light there in the fender tip to tell you that the turn signal's on. Both on the right and the left side, lamp monitors. In any case, hope you enjoyed this drive of the 67 Eldorado. Let's go take the Riviera for a drive. All right, so here we are in the Riviera. Air conditioning on. Now the Eldorado is charged on our 134A, and it's cold. Like, it's an 84-degree day here, and I was comfortable in the cabin. But this Riviera is still with the factory R12. Wow. It is really cold. I'm gonna have to turn the blower down. I don't even have it on high right now, and it's starting to freeze me out. And it's a black car and a sunny day. These GM air conditioning systems are great. It feels like the Buick has a heftier blower spec than the Cadillac too. You put this air conditioner on high and it's really pumping a lot of air out. Cadillac's pumping a decent amount, but I think this blower is bigger on this Riviera. I wouldn't be surprised given Cadillac had to cut costs to try to offset the front wheel drive costs. This speedometer really works well though, this rolling drum. I'm surprised more cars didn't use it because it's super easy to read, easier than any needles. It looks cool, very functional. And the other thing I'm noticing as I'm driving over this road in the Riviera versus the Eldorado, the ride is no comparison. This is way better. I don't hear any of the expansion joints. This car doesn't have an overly soft ride. It's relatively firm for the era, I would say, but it's great. I mean, this road is not a great road, which is why I pick it to kind of test these cars on. I don't hear any of the impacts. Yeah, really don't hear anything. So if I had to score the ride on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being a perfect ride, I would put my 73 Mercury Marquis Brougham at a 9. I would put this Riviera at an 8. I'd put my Pontiac, my 65 Bonneville at maybe a 9 to 9.5. I'd put the Eldorado at a 4, relatively speaking, for ride. Really just no comparison. Now again, is the Eldorado harsh by modern standards? No. Is it harsh by standards of the time? Yes. But this is so pleasant. I can see why Buick wanted to stick with rear-wheel drive. Don't give me the cost of the front-wheel drive. Let me have the full 4-coil suspension, full perimeter frame. This is definitely a better package from a drivability standpoint. And these drum brakes, these aluminum fin drum brakes, a lot of people poo-poo the drum brakes. By this era, they were fine. Unless you're panic stopping 3 times from 80 miles an hour, in which case you shouldn't be driving this car. You should be driving something else. But these aluminum fin drums are really good brakes. And this Buick V8, you know, it had 20 more horsepower, 360 versus the Eldorado 340. I would say it feels a bit more peppy, particularly when you step on it. And some of that might be the weight. This car's a few 100 pounds less, but I think some of it too is just the 429 couldn't breathe as well as the later 472 and this 430. But both are good engines, very pleasant to drive, nothing to complain about. Throttle response on this car is really good. And wow, yeah, this ride is no comparison. I'm hitting a bumpy stretch here going around the corner. This is just way better. Let me turn around here. All right. It's 85 degrees outside, got the air conditioning on, and the temperature gauge isn't even halfway up. I did recore the radiator in this car. It's a 3-row radiator. I did replace the water pump, had to replace that. It started leaking. But you know, even on an mid-80s degree day with the air conditioner on, no sweat for this car. And boy, this air conditioning feels good. I wish they made air conditioning like this. I wish they made cars like this. They never will again. You could never do this car today. Look at that wind split. That would never pass pedestrian impact standard. That would impale a pedestrian if you hit them. Of course, if you hit them, you're impaling them too. So if I had to rate the cars, I'll call styling a toss-up. I prefer the Eldorado just slightly. I think they're both stunning. The ride, hands down the Riviera. Brakes, I think, you know, kind of a toss-up between the disc brakes and the Eldorado and these aluminum fin drums. They're both very good. Acceleration, I'd give the edge to the Buick over the Cadillac. Overall interior appointments and materials, I mean, this is, you know, nice cabin. I'd kind of call that even. Which car would I have bought? back in the day, I would have bought the Riviera between the two. I don't think the Eldorado was worth the $1,700 price premium. I think this car looked just as great as the Eldorado. You could get everything you wanted in the Riviera and save $1,700. I'm a finance guy after all. In any case, hope you enjoyed this little drive of both vehicles. Thanks again for watching.
Thanks for watching this ride and drive of the 1967 Eldorado and the 1967 Buick Riviera. If you haven't yet seen the first part of this video, click the link below. And if you enjoy these types of videos, be sure to subscribe. Thanks again for watching.